When I was 18, I remember graduating high school and immediately me and two buddies were like, we're going to Japan and we're going to go there for a couple weeks and experience. And as a young man, I really needed that. And my biggest takeaway from that experience was about how I got to know myself really quickly. And that was interesting to me because the culture, the food, and the experience of Japan is so different than what we experience in the United States. But I felt like I was really getting to know myself and got to know how I traveled, how I operated, how when things got scary, I got more excited. And, that was really needed, especially graduating high school and examining what I really wanted to do with my life. So that brings me to my next story. And I think this one is a good one for young men to hear and to reflect on. So after my Japan trip, I came back to Montana and I was just working a bunch and stacking up my money and kind of in that vibe. I was a bag boy at a golf course. And one night I decided I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to go do what trail was it? It was some sort of long hiking trail. And her and I laugh about this still, but I decided I'm going to buy a pop up single tent that you throw and it pops open. And she was like, that's not a thing. And I was like, yes, it is. And small little, thing. But to me, it felt deeper because I was like, what am I still doing in the house? I need to get out of here and I need to go see the world. So I walked upstairs, got on my phone, got my credit card, and I bought a ticket to the farthest possible spot I could see in the United States. And that happened to be Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. And it was the off season, right? Because usually that's a tourist place, but it was the winter. So it was rainy and cold, and I decided to stay on a sailboat by myself. And when I got there, I was completely exposed to myself and who I was, what I was doing. Being on a sailboat with nobody else on the island was trippy. And I really got to explore the island, which was great. But at the same time, all I could do was unavoid the fact that I was alone for really the first time away from my family, away from my friends, anything I knew. And I still look back on that with so much growth and care for myself and found that that was super scary to go and do, especially when I realized I was on the flight and I was like, oh, I'm going to land in South Carolina and I got to figure this out. And so, that's what I did. So, bottom line, if you're feeling lost or if you are feeling like you need to get to know yourself or something's just consistently not clicking, I recommend going and traveling and either take some buddies or go alone. And I know that traveling is a privilege and not everyone can do that. And I totally understand that. But find some sort of way to go experience the world because when you go experience the world and travel, those are the only things that you can learn while doing that. You can't get that in a textbook or in a YouTube video or watch someone else on Instagram do it. You have to go experience that for yourself. My next piece of this is thinking back on my time when I served as an AmeriCorps team member. This was also one of those random things, I was living at my dad's house. COVID was kind of just starting and I decided I need to go do something for a while. And I looked up and found AmeriCorps, which is a domestic service program like the Peace Corps, but in America. So I applied. I definitely over revved my resume thinking I needed to be super qualified and I didn't need to be apparently. But I got accepted and they said my region was the North Central region. And that entailed that I would be flying to or driving to Vinton, Iowa, which was probably a town of 2,000 people in the middle of Iowa. And we stayed at a old deaf and blind school. That's where AmeriCorps was set up. So as you can see, that the experience was there, and I needed that. And I found myself to be uh, obsessive with working out because that was my coping strategy for being scared of being out in the world. So I was running and running and running, working out, and that was great, right? But I decided to keep investing in myself, I guess. And the purpose of this story is the second part, which is we got deployed into North Dakota. I'm talking right on the Canadian border at the International Peace Garden. And it's a beautiful garden. It's a beautiful place. It shares the border between the US and Canada. And I was so excited to get up there, get into some nature. And we were going to be chainsawing for 3 months, 3.5 months straight. And I could not be more excited. And, as a young man, I was craving the adventure and the drive and the mystery of the woods. And I highly recommend anybody listening to get experience in the woods or in the mountains or any sort of nature you can find, and just come back and let us know what you think from that.